With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
Tonight, the PRL and its Cup Series heads to Atlanta to see if they can battle 3 wide for the race win and its penultimate race of 2024 Season 1 here on RaceSpot. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince, and filming alongside me the booth tonight, it's Mark Kalin, who will look to see what happens tonight when it comes to our top drivers in PRL stock car competition. Nick Hunter spotting, Mike Yell producing as we get set to go racing. Super speedway style, so to speak, when it comes to Atlanta. There's a lot to consider when it comes to this season, and so far it's been intense. A couple races to go, Mark. It's the penultimate round tonight.
Yeah, tonight's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Keep in mind the Las Vegas finale next week on March the 3rd. Going to also bring us to a moment and a half to close out, but essentially you have a unique combination of essentially back-to-back super speedways with Daytona and Atlanta. Atlanta, of course, the super speedway configuration these days in modern racing. That being said, when it comes to the championship so far, there's a lot to discuss. Trent Dinkle is trying to battle for another championship. Abner Acosta, one of his teammates, along with James O'Brien, all within about a race distance entering today. And Mark, one of the big things today, this is the last race you can drop, so you can't afford to do bad here. Keep in mind, each of these drivers in the top 3 have had a drop of at least 27 to 30 so far this season.
Yeah, that would be absolutely worst case scenario is if one of these guys have a bad race tonight. So they're going to be looking forward to being up front and staying out of trouble if at all possible.
Two of those 3 drops, keep in mind, were from the opening race of the season. We'll see how the teams in turn fare out tonight. Expect teamwork to be on hand. As to be expected, private label team hype at the top of the standings when you have 3 drivers, 1, 2, 3. And with 6 of the 7 wins, private label team hype on the way to a team championship. If they're able to get a good result tonight, 104 points up for Pioneer Racing. Love Racing inside the top 3. SGE's Pioneer Lady JV team, as well as the Final Lap Racing team amongst the top 5. Bowie Esports taking a slide as of late to around the mid-pack in the point standings. There's a lot to think about when it comes to tonight, and at a racetrack with teamwork going to be critical. I'd like to remind you that this coverage is brought to you in part by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount code. Use the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Completely priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are the enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com to get a 5% discount code. Use the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. For every new one, so Troy, put yourself in the driver's seat. Moranis is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit Moranis.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby at up to 8K resolution. Great addition to any sim room. And by Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. With that being said, the drivers are currently in the preparations around Atlanta Motor Speedway. See what they can do here on the Super Speedway configuration. Qualifying underway. It's down to its final 2 minutes. Chad Kibbe at the top of the board currently, the only driver in the 31-1 so far. And it leads to an obvious question as these drivers get ready for tonight. What's the best way to be fast at a Super Speedway like this at Atlanta?
At a super speedway like Atlanta, Justin, it's going to be the bottom lane all the way. As you can see on screen, the cars are cutting the dog leg coming to the start-finish line, and that's helping them gain that little bit extra time. And it's just going to depend on how you get off of turn 4 there as to what your speed and time is going to be.
Now keep in mind, it was discussed during the truck in Grand National Series races that you can't go under that line in race conditions. There is an exemption to that for the qualifying, as you've seen with drivers electing to use that apron to get an extra couple tenths. Most drivers have already completed times, but Brian Dixon, Abner Acosta, Jose Medina, Maverick Davis amongst those looking to set their times. Maverick Davis starting off his times in the 31-second bracket. We'll see how the second time picks up. He needs a couple tenths.
Yeah, see, he's just cruising along the bottom. Let it drift out a little bit on the backstretch there. Then he's going to dive down into turn 3. Hope it stays right on that red line. He's drifting up just a hair. Then he's going to come off the floor, cut that dog leg, hit that start-finish line, and hope for a quick time.
This be quicker for Maverick Davis. 31.8 the first time. This time by as the time circulates up to 3rd spot on the pylon. Oh, wow. Acosta looks for track position to start off his respective race. And I don't think that's gone too high. It is up to the top 5, but not to the front row. Dinkel is a row ahead of him as qualifying comes to a close here. Of note, Eric Oliva and Joshua Daniels had penalties, not allowing them to qualify. Both drivers, however, did not make it to tonight's festivities. Let's find out how they'll start, though, for Super Speedway Racing from Atlanta. We're about to go fast very quickly. Chad Kibbe starts on the pole. Trent Dinkel starts alongside. The difference for the pole, about a few 100ths. Maverick Davis, Abner Acosta amongst the top 4. Christian alongside Park Hilliard in your first half dozen. Chris Vincent starts alongside James O'Brien. 33 will start alongside with Brandon Fetterplace in front. Pat Harvey, series veteran, starts off in 10th. Medina and Brandon Walter amongst your top 10. Back in 13th, where's Waldo? Waldo is in 13th alongside Jose Acosta. Chris Hudson in 15th alongside Brian Dixon, one of the Buoys machines. Tommy Brandon in one of the SSR Elite machines in 17th. Just alongside the dark horse Luis Rodriguez. Rounding up the field today, Vicente Spavita alongside the top driver in final practice, Jeff Chandler. The rest of the field did not set times. Bruno Mello and Devin Maines, those two drivers who start the tail. So that's a look at your lineup here today as the Cup Series gets ready to go zoom around Atlanta. And if the real world race that just happened moments ago is any indication, it's expected to be a pretty wild one here today. 90 minutes up on the clock, though, can really change things, Mark. Your keys to win, knowing there's no set laps, and that's a long time for a super speedway race.
Yes, it is, Justin. 90 minutes, mile-and-a-half track. That's going to put us around 150 laps, give or take, depending on cautions. But the keys to victory tonight, Justin, are going to be, who can manage the bump drafts the best. Because if you get a bump in the corner, that's a recipe for disaster if you're not ready for it. And I was talking to Trent and James earlier from Private Label Team Hype, and they said the car is pretty stable, when they're by themselves. But if you're not lined up right, and it only takes an inch or two to be off center, and you can send someone around with a bad bump.
Keep in mind, last time out, Trent Dinkle did pick up the victory. The max points you can get at 48 at Daytona. Does he do it again here, or who breaks through tonight? Who's your pick, Mark?
Honestly, Justin, I'm keeping an eye on Abner tonight. He's about 12 to 15 points back of Trent in the championship, so I'm looking for him to have a strong run and do whatever he can to stay ahead of Trent at all costs tonight.
Well, the car is just about set to go racing here from Atlanta. Super speedway action on a mile and a half. In control, it's Chad Kibbe on the pole in his 23 machine. So far this season, he's had a couple top 10s. He looks to top that right here and now. Pace car going off in turn 4, fielding control of his Toyota. We're glad to have you with us here on Race Spot. It's the penultimate race of the PRL Cup Series season. We're underway from Atlanta Super Speedway. And quickly, 2 by 2, the name of the game to start. The top line, the better line, go off the launch once more.
Yeah, Abner got a great shot in the second row, was able to push Trent out front, clear of Chad Kibbe. Trent's going to lead lap number 1. Hopefully, unlike the real race today, hopefully these guys can keep it clean for lap 2.
Yeah, that was one of the main things that, not to spoil how the race went for those who didn't get the chance to run, but can tell you this, Kevin Harvick made a great point where this is one of the most on top of the track circuits you'll get in real life because of how loose it is, but also how many bumps there are and how these cars have different feels in terms of if they're trying to take out drag, if they're trying to keep drag in terms of what they prefer. Expect more stability tonight in the sim, but it was like bouncing on pogo sticks in the real world today.
Yeah, Justin, it didn't take a lot for the real-world drivers to get loose in the corners. Just lifting off the gas in the wrong spot would really make the car upset and cause someone to really have to fight the wheel and trying to prevent it from coming around. But we saw a couple guys earlier today that weren't able to manage that. Hopefully these guys keep it straight, keep it clean, and keep it green.
Track temperature around the start of today, 102 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. That's one of the higher temps you'll get here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And in turn, mind that's a lot hotter than real life today, for one. 2, how are these cars going to be feeling when these tires start to burn off in about 5 minutes?
Well, funny you should mention that, Justin. I actually spoke to the team hype guys earlier as well about that, and they said about 25 to 30 laps is when they'll really start feeling the tire wear set in. And as far as fuel, I think they can go about 65 laps on a tank of fuel, so tires should really be hot at that point.
Trentico continuing to control things up top. No major movement in the early going. And it leads to an obvious question between who qualified up front, who starts at the back, etc. Do you go and trim the car out, take the high speed, but have to let more in the corners, or do you try and go for the handling when it comes to a track like this, with especially in a super speedway package now?
Well, there's definitely a balance you want to try and obtain between the two, but if you're going to be mired back in traffic and you're not confident in your qualifying skills, you want to try and lean more towards balance, because back in the pack it's going to be a lot less stable with all the air moving around.
Keeping an eye on one of the onboards. Kibbe still side by side for second. The SG Esports machine given a fair amount of space right now to that top line. And that's one thing noticed. Despite the shove from Maverick Davis there, for the most part, they've given themselves space. It looks like Davis is saying, you know what, let's giddy up and go, go, go. Doesn't change the lead lap, though, this time.
Yeah, Maverick giving some really good bumps to Chad, trying to get him back out front. And I've noticed for most of the pack, they're just trying to take it easy, but Maverick and Abner giving those shoves out to the front row.
Now, a major thing when it comes to super speedway racing with Daytona and Talladega is the triple car tandem is almost a necessity with the next-gen car. You can't really get that here because there's not a lot of time to get the triple bumped out, to line up 3 bumpers compared to double the length of Daytona and Dega.
Correct. And honestly, if you get 3 cars in a line bumping, that middle car can become pretty unstable anyways in the sim. So I prefer, when I'm in the car, not to have someone pushing me when I'm the pusher.
Still maintaining calmness so far. Just about everybody maintaining with the pack, by the way. No one's fallen back for the group. Everyone within 1.1 seconds. Here's a look from Maverick Davis. And I think that's a good viewpoint to keep an eye on how the throttle movement in the pack could be in the corners. Just look at the lift like that.
Yeah, and Maverick right there, he's just making sure he doesn't give a bad bump to Chad. It's still really early. Like earlier we said, 90 minutes, and we're only 9 minutes into this race, so still got a long ways to go, and he doesn't want to be too crazy too early.
Doesn't want to overload those temperatures either. Even though there's no grill tape on the cars, you can still absolutely pop the motor in the trap if you're pushing too hard. He's letting it breathe, it looks like.
Yeah, he's definitely getting some air in the corners on that front nose and making sure that engine stays cool so he can be up there for the majority of the race and fight for the win at the end.
So with 2x2 essentially throughout the entire field like this, it obviously is the question, how do you get the track position? Because it's pretty clear if it stays like this most of the day, it's going to be difficult to make a pass.
It is going to be very difficult. You're going to have to time your line jumps with the gaps. As for instance, like in between Pat Harvey and Brandon Walter up there on the high side, you'd have to wiggle your way in front of there and hope for that line to start moving forward and back and forth all the way up to the front. But it's going to be a tough call.
Take a look at some of the drivers there in the mid-pack. You see amongst those, Walter still stuck back there. Jose Acosta around that range. Chris Hudson staying in the mid-pack. Jose Acosta amongst those who have slotted down at the bottom of the racetrack. Jose Acosta, he showed some good strides this season. A couple top 5s. About half the races coming into tonight, he's been inside the top 10.
Yeah, Jose's been very strong this season. The last race I was announcing, I think, was Rockingham, and he was really strong there, showed great pace, and unfortunately got caught up in an incident and took him out of it. But yeah, Jose has really shown some really good pace this season. I look forward to him being up at the front later this race.
Amongst those, also back there still is Walter. And you see that 99 machine amongst those, trying to figure out what to do here, where to shuffle, where do I go? And that's the tough thing, is when you're separated from your teammates here. Or better yet, if you're Tommy Brandon and you don't have too many teammates up front, his teammates, Vincent and Maines, are towards the back right now.
Yeah, it looks like their plan is just to hang out back there. Hopefully avoid calamity should it happen. And, I mean, as you can see, everybody's still 2x2 all the way through the field. No one's making any moves to try and get to the front right now. Everyone's just calm, cool, and collected. And just running laps right now.
Part of me is thinking, too, in the midst of all this, is eventually somebody's going to say, it's very tempting to go right up the middle here. There is that giant gap up that middle of the racetrack. Luke Christian, you can see, is just smiling along, riding along. Eventually, somebody's going to have to get a third line to going here.
I think we'll see that later on in the race, Justin. Right now, I think it's way too early for that. And plus, in the sim, with cars bobbing and weaving up and around the track, you really don't want to create that kind of scenario this early into the 90-minute race.
So right now, already just about a few minutes into the race, just about our 20 minutes to go on the clock in the next couple laps or so here. Tire wear starting to kick in a little bit in the next few moments or so. Chad Kibbe still holding on to the inside line as its leader. He's been looking pretty strong so far. You see the viewpoint from him in the lower corner.
Yeah, Chad doing a great job leading that bottom lane. I think he did lead that lap. So credit that one for Chad Kibbe, and your pole sitter back out front.
And what else can you really say right now? You have to stay in the groove, stay in a rhythm, continue to stay in the pattern. And that seems to be the main focal point. No one really has made many major bobbles. It's almost like that patience game, except it's a very big patience game in Atlanta with more laps being turned.
Right you are, Justin. And if you notice back through the pack, everyone's leaving a nice gap to the car in front. No one's pushing anyone back there, trying to make anything crazy happen. So yeah, patience is the name of the game right now. No one's just, trying to drive over their heads right now. Everyone's staying pretty lined up and chugging along like a choo-choo train.
Now my question is, for Pat Harvey here, why is he wearing goggles for a sim race?
I wonder if he has a water balloon over his head for when he wins. I don't know.
And, I mean, that's a way to celebrate, I guess. Why not spray yourself with water balloons? But also, safety goggles for safety, right?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it as well.
Interestingly enough, I think he forgot somehow the grill decals on his car. He's the only one to have that issue. I don't think I've ever seen that one on the Toyota before. That being said, private label team high teammates still working together well on the top of the racetrack. Maverick Davis still pushing Chad Kibbe in the line. And the good feedback is, apparently, it's superstition when it comes to the goggles, where it's for good luck, as some say, right? If something starts working, Mark, usually you don't like to change it, right? So you end up having lucky socks, lucky shoes, lucky shirt. Oh. Chad Kibbe, lucky save in front of the field. No caution, we stay green. That was nearly a big one, and that really breaks things up. It's tire wear time, it looks like, as a result of that slide.
Yeah, it looked like he got a bad bump from Maverick on the exit of 4 there, and that's what I was talking about earlier. You just got to be super careful in the corners about bumping people, and I think Maverick just got to his bumper a little too soon and got him sideways.
Here's a look He's been trying to bump until about here. Yeah, you can't do that here in the corner.
Really great job by everybody to avoid any chaos further than what was there. And great job by Chad to save that and keep it going forward.
And that's going to force the drivers here to try to do things a bit differently. Abner Acosta lost a few spots. Now he's on the bottom of the racetrack. In fact, most of the leaders, instead of running middle to top or 2x2, seems to be trending towards that bottom of the racetrack. In fact, Chris Hudson gained a ton of spots from that. He was in the teens before the spin. He's up to 5th, make it 4th.
Yeah, the bottom lane really had to check up for Chad there, which was smart and well done by everybody on that bottom lane. And now you see some guys that weren't up front earlier. Now they're up front, and everybody's starting to single file out for the most part. And we're going to get a long choo-choo train going here.
Now keep in mind, the second pack has formed as a result of that slide. With all the drivers checking out there, essentially, several have lost time. You can guess where that fastest time just came from. The second grouping just about. Luke Christian amongst those some of those trying to catch forward. Jose Acosta leading that second pack. All by the leaders, still shuffle on screen.
Yep, and now they're starting to get double filed again. About 2 rows deep. 3 wide on the front stretch at the start-finish line. With James O'Brien on the high side, Hudson on the bottom, and the number 2 car in the middle.
There's that 3 wide in the heart of the pack, trying to make it work is Park Hilliard. Wondering when somebody would be forcing this. It looks like the answer is now up the sucker hole. Nobody willing to help the 2 machine, and in turn, all of them quickly shuffle it back.
Yeah, it looked like the 03 got shuffled up into the wall. Brian Dixon there, just trying to avoid coming down too far in the middle lane there, but he's going to drop back a little bit, probably catch on to that second group, as Abner and Trent now leading both lanes, and James with a big push.
See the second pack in the backdrop, by the way. They're going to need to work together if they want to get up to those leaders. Already seen one swap for the lead car. Jose Medina wants those trying to push Jose Acosta. Another place back there, Mello, Walden, amongst those going 3 wide for 4th in line. Not as organized compared to the front leaders already.
Yeah, not as organized, and that's going to hurt them, as there's a huge checkup on the bottom lane in the front group with Abner Acosta slowing everybody up on that bottom lane.
But it kind of plays almost perfectly to what a team would want to have happen. Private Label Team Hunt essentially has the 4 cars tonight, right? So essentially, you have them leading the top couple of drivers on the top line. You have now the couple of drivers at the bottom of the racetrack. They're dictating the tempo, this entire pace for the pack.
Yeah, they are definitely controlling the pace of this race right now with 3 of the 4 drivers up top in the front. And got Trent, James, and Brandon Walter leading the way right now. And it looks like that second group has gotten single file, and they're trying to catch this front group with them being double file in the back. And I wonder how long it's going to take for them to catch up.
Keep in mind, 2 drivers that are leading that group, the 42 and the 24, are teammates in this series. They need to gain about 2.2 seconds, about realistically 1.5 seconds to 1 second to get back in the tow fully of these lead cars. Already about 32 laps down, Dinkle continuing to maintain the tempo at the front of the field here. Pat Harvey, amongst those now pushing at the bottom of the racetrack. Quickly though, we've seen some of the biggest movers earlier. Sebavelda is amongst those in this pack who is towards the rear of the field as well when qualifying. He too also picked up near double-digit point positions because of the checkup, and now in that Chevy is the caboose of the outside groove you see in the backdrop.
Yeah, and looking at the results from last week at Daytona, Vicente was very strong. I think he had a top 5 finish there, if I'm not mistaken. So he's doing a great job managing, and I'm being told in my ear he finished P3. So look for Vicente to be strong tonight.
Technically did get half a caution point, but in turn, Here's a look over to that second grouping once again. And it leads to the obvious question, is there enough speed in the lead cars, and the lead cars, in fact, to get the job done? Because currently the answer looks no.
No, Justin, I don't think they do have the speed right now. I've seen a few times one or two cars whipping out, trying to pass people, and that's just not what you want to do right now if you're in that second group. You want to stay single file, because that's going to be the fastest way to catch up to these guys.
Oh, a bit of a push in the middle of the corner. That's Walter getting a shove, that time from Hudson. And it looks like Acosta not liking that. Nearly took him 3 wide, trying to go to the outside. No space to go. And those types of close moves, we've already seen one slide from it. You have to be heads up on how close that bumper is. Have that awareness, it seems. Otherwise, you risk that spin.
Right you are, and you almost saw Chris Hudson get loose there and come down into Park Hilliard after turn 1 and 2 last time around. But he did a great job to keep it off of him and keep it going straight. As looks like we have a new leader in that bottom lane there, of Lou Christian in the number 21.
And Lou's been trying to really push the tempo on that bottom line. He is leading the way for Pioneer Racing to keep in mind this season. Seen him for a couple campaigns now, and he showed some great pace though. Whenever I've seen him race in PRL competition, he's usually a top 5 driver for a reason.
Yeah, Lou's been with us for quite a while now, and he has really stepped up his game in the last year as far as his pace, because he is a strong competitor week in and week out for top 5, like you said, and I'm really happy to see that out of Lou.
He's had 3 top 5s already on the campaign. Just about every race inside the top 10. He's trying to work with a couple of those on that bottom of the racetrack to keep the rhythm going. Nearly 3 seconds to cushion to the next pack. So we're just already at the midway point of the fuel run. That's around where we were talking about fuel, but also tires. Or really more so, I should say, the tires being a talking point. 3/4 tenths to fall off right now. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more so the grip that's been a concern throughout the week, whether it's been Truck, Grand National, and very likely Cup, in turn what we've seen with some of the slides.
Right, and this is about the point where Trent and James told me that the tires get heated and your car becomes pretty much its loose as it's going to get. So you mix that in with a bad bump, you're going to cause calamity. That's all there is to it.
And that's why, keep in mind, this is open for the Cup side of PRL. One of the main things as a team you have to talk about in terms of getting a setup dialed down, in theory, is you have to be able to drive it. And there's a reason a lot of drivers, it looks like, based on what we're seeing in this main pack, have gone with the mindset of take a little bit of top end out, have a lot of corner speed, and that difference is about 1/2 tenth to 1/10 a lap once you break away.
Yeah, sacrificing top end for stability at these plate races will definitely gain an advantage here over the long run.
And also help the tires as a result here. Now, obviously, traffic's going to play a bit of a factor now, because you just seen the flash of Chad Kibbe. He is essentially the only driver not in a pack. And because there was no caution, and he didn't trigger said incident from a slide in the grass, leaders will now lap him. He's the only one at risk of losing a lap, and this is going to be a bit tight. Looks like private label team Hype getting on the radio, getting sorted, getting themselves single file to pass them.
Now, see, I think Chad made a mistake there. I would have forced them all to go up and around me, and I would have held my line on the bottom. That way, I mean, he had no issues with catching the draft there, but, you know, if this were Daytona, he might have had a harder time staying in the draft.
Well, on the bright side for Chad, if there's a caution now, he's the only one who can get the lucky dog, so long as he's not in an incident. That's the key word. Speaking of sliding up in near incidents, near contact to the wall. So a couple drivers are starting to get a little bit dicey to that top of the racetrack.
Yeah, Abner and Lou on the bottom trying to get ahead of the 15 of Maverick Davis with Chad Kibbe pushing Maverick. So that's making things a little slower for them. As you can see, the top three starting to pull away on the run.
Walter in turn, still holding on to the top three, and we talked about him being separated from the teammates. Doesn't seem to be the case once again now, although Maverick Davis is really trying to side draft hard to keep alongside him.
Yeah, and I've been keeping an eye on the times here, Justin, with that second pack. That gap is now up to 4.5 seconds, so whatever they're doing, they are losing time, and even with all the battling going on in this front pack, which is just mind-boggling to me, to be honest.
So taking it back towards the second pack here. It's continuing to slip further and further and further back. Chris Hudson trouble, main pack, Maverick Davis as well. We stay green for now, but those two plummet.
Yeah, there was a huge check up there caused by Brandon Walter for some reason. I don't know if he got a little wiggly or not, but yeah, there was a bunch of people about to dive into each other, and they did a great job avoiding a wreck.
And already the top line starting to break it up towards the groove. And this is where we were expecting maybe a shakeup here. Some drivers like to run the wall with this package. It's very fast, but also very likely you hit the wall if you aren't experienced with this.
Yeah, the middle lane here, it's at least on Wednesday night in the Xfinity Series, Justin, it was a little more stable than the bottom lane. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same for these cars, since I haven't driven one of these at a track like this in a long time. But if they start to move up, as you can see, they're on the bottom lane again. You know, the middle lane seems more stable for some drivers.
Quick look, and that was a little bit weird. Might have taken an error look there because Hudson almost looked like he went down on his own for a moment. I'm not quite sure what happened, if that was more or less a slide or just a willing decision to go down there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure myself there. But luckily they were able to sort it out and everyone's still pointing forward. So let's just keep chugging along.
Here's another look as I think this is more towards what was starting to force that 3 wide initially. And they both got shuffled.
Oh, we got pit stops happening. Lou Christian leading the way. The number 2 of Park Hilliard losing it on the entry, causing massive incident.
That's live action. The 2 machines spinning in front of the whole group of cars. That's going to cost them a lot of time here. And a flick spin at the pit entry could cause some trouble.
Yeah, that was the nose of Lou Christian that he spun around in front of. Hopefully Lou doesn't have any damage. But really unfortunate there, and great job by the other drivers, Maverick and Chad, to avoid that incident.
Coming in hot. A lot of them came in hot and nearly sped. The 2, absolutely lucky he didn't collect the 21's door. Believe it or not, no speeding penalty from that and no unsafe pit entry.
Remarkable. No penalties from that. Remarkable.
So the gauntlet for the window essentially set. We're expecting about 150 laps if it stayed green. Guess what? It's about lap 50-ish when those drivers came in. Looks like the drivers on screen here trying to stretch it a little bit further for that window, have an extra bit in the bank. A big undercut for that group compared to the private label cars.
Yeah, and on track right now, you got Trent, James, and Abner, 3 chip contenders, leading the pack, leading the race currently, all by themselves with looks like a slower car right in front of them.
And that is the 2 machine. Hilliard, who spun around Now, for those wondering, where did Walter, Rodriguez and company go? Well, they did find some help and are catching back up, so don't worry about the 99 on back for the time being. This traffic, though, is costing them a little bit of time, believe it or not. They're using them as a chance to save, but they're also losing time the more they turn laps out here.
Yes, they are, Justin. I've been watching Lou Christian and Chris Hudson back here, and their last lap was a 30.1 versus a 30.8 for Trent. So that's significant time loss.
Brent Dinkle amongst those who just got shuffled by James O'Brien. Acosta looks like he's setting up as the bridge. And not a shock, because Walter's leading the next grouping. There's the swap back, Dinkle. And I'm guessing that was for a bonus point for a lead lap if they swap like that.
And all I see there is losing more time. So I'm not sure what they're gaining, because, I mean, granted, I've never been one for strategies, but they're just costing themselves a bucket load of time every lap.
Well, I think I can see where the strat's going. Remember, the shorter the pit stop in theory for the last stop, the faster you can take it. There is something where you can take 2 tires. I haven't seen it work at Atlanta yet, though. It is something we may have seen a bit if you look closely enough for the 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I've seen that if you take 2 right side tires, it'll really loosen up the car. And if you take 2 left side tires, it can tighten up the car potentially. So there are those factors to consider as well.
It's more so, I think, in terms of, do you risk that in terms of gaining the time? At Atlanta, that was a little bit dicey with Harvey in line.
Well, as in all racing, no risk, no reward, right?
Pat Harvey, 6 seconds back of that main pack, by the way. He's trying to work with some of those lap-down machines. Of note, see where they're at interval to the leaders, about 30 seconds back. And with an hour to go on the clock, still a lot of chess match moves. You can see where the pit stop delta, or total pit stops, should say, are. It's going to be obviously the play if you're private label team height of fresher tires, keep it green. Simple as that. No spinnies.
Yes, and obviously make sure you get on the pit road safely and don't loop it around. But I hear over the comms, 5 cars coming down pit road, and the rest of the team height drivers as well.
Looks like at least one of them having a shuffle. That's the 2 who already had a spin. And nicely done. No major troubles on the pit entry this time, it looks like, as the second group zips on by. In fact, that's Acosta, Medina, better place. Jose Acosta, I should say. So they were able to go about 60 laps, about a 5-lap difference in terms of what we're expecting top of the window. Major overcuts for everybody else, it looks like.
And I expect this group of Lou Christian and Chris Hudson, as well as Chad Kibbe and Maverick Davis, to come out well ahead of the private label team height guys, because they're coming off a 4 with a full head of steam, and everybody else is just now leaving pit road.
Full stops just about complete except for the top 9 on the pylon. And as expected, the undercut group gaining a lot of time with the fresher tires. When you're 3/10 of a lap quicker on freshies, that's what happens. That being said, this group gonna be pretty fast in the long run.
We got another group of 4 cars pitting at this moment, led by Jose Acosta and Jose Medina. They all got it clean and green on the pit road.
Vincent, Dixon, Brandon, Chandler, the only ones yet to pit for the main groups. Looks like no troubles for them as well. Of note, Pat Harvey has also shuffled on in as part of that window. Here's a look at the main grouping, and it almost looks like a layer, yes, of traffic and leaders here that is shuffling things a touch bit. Chris Hudson trying to lead the outside line in all this. They pass by those pitting right now. The push coming from Christian. That leaves just a couple on the racetrack. Those are your leaders for now. SSR, let's go Sim Racing, going very long. Vincent Brandon picking up Jeff Chandler, who is on his own in this series, to be able to try and stretch this gas run. An interesting play, you'd have to say, for those three. What's Nixon?
Yeah, I feel like right now their play is to hope for a caution. Not a bad strategy, but a risky one, to say the least.
So in turn, when you think about the strategy, when you think about all this on the wear side of things, keep in mind the delta differential is still a few seconds between the packs for the time being. A lot goes through the mind. What's going through your mind if you're in the car right now? Better yet, what was going through your mind around this point in the Grand National and Truck Series races this past Wednesday?
Basically, just try to, keep it straight, don't cause any crazy issues, and hope for the best. I mean, that's really my only mindset.
Well, the mindset right now continues on the bump. Hudson leads the group.
But Justin, I'm looking at times right now, and that pack led by James O'Brien, they are coming. They cut it down to 1.5 seconds, and they are now well within that draft.
Just been informed that there was pit road issue involving Vincent and Dixon originally on their entries. Lap 62, both those drivers did pick up contact, but did not come into the pits. Now, the part of the reason too for the game for that second pack, well, first of all, fastest lap second, you know who they're drafting off of? All those current leaders.
Yep, and that outside line is coming. They are steaming along. And I think they're going to catch this group of Chris Hudson and Lou Christian here in the next lap or two.
They go blistering through fastest laps. Last time by, you've seen the fastest lap of the race. He's working in the group with James O'Brien. Keep it on that red machine. It looks like they're going to block the top. Try and block the lines. They do have a lap car to use, a couple of them, in fact, to use as bridges. And it looks like they're going topside and people off the wall.
James hesitated there about which line he wanted to use. He wasn't sure and made a last-second decision and almost clipped the rear end of Park Hilliard there, and could have been a disaster for all those people. And Abner had a little bit of a wiggle back there, and Lou Christian comes up to block the run by James.
Oh, they're in the wall. O'Brien forced to lift hard off the gas. Christian and Hudson both playing dangerous games here on the block at full speed.
Yeah, I think these guys are tired of riding around in circles. They want to have some fun and get to the front, lead more laps. And you can tell by their aggressiveness right now, they're trying to make money moves.
Here comes O'Brien. Now they finally found a way to get alongside Christian. Bit of a side trap back for the lap cars. It looks like Tinkle not appreciating that from Kibbe, helping push him up the racetrack for the lead. This is net lead still. Vincent and Brandon are yet to pit along with Chandler and Dixon. And they are fuel wizards. 70 laps already on the fuel tank.
That's incredible. I didn't know these cars could last that long on fuel. And they might get their wish on the caution here before too long, the way these guys are battling right now.
Better yet, you know what? If they're able to get to 75 and do this again, they could go on a one-stop.
Well, I just heard,
never mind.
Justin, they are coming down pit road right now.
And that's near speeding. Jeff Chandler left out for the time being, but this should just about settle who's in the lead. O'Brien, Tinkle, and Acosta have cleared up by Hudson.
That top lane getting a big boost. Abner goes up the block a little bit. Hudson to his outside.
As the 31 machine continues to log the laps. As most of those drivers have come down to pit here, that just about simplifies the strat. Here's the thing, we can definitely say for certainty, we will get to 150 on the lap counter, because if it stays green, the race will only take 39 minutes, one of the quickest races of the season. Watch the commentators' curse remain undefeated on that point. That being said, you still have O'Brien, you still have the private label machines, and we can confirm the car we were on board with, Mark, no surprise, Vincent caught speeding. 3 wide.
It's never good to have speeding penalties at a plate track like this. You're destined to go 1, possibly 2 laps down.
Maverick Davis has been, while we had the bad bump we've seen in 3 and 4, everything else we've seen has been very solid. As Chandler has gone down to pit for his service, Davis has really established his presence, making it clear he's comfortable with this car.
Yeah, a lot of these guys seem to be really confident with their pushing abilities and with the handling of the race cars, because they're ramping up that aggression level, Justin, and the excitement level for us and all you fans out there watching on YouTube. I feel like that excitement level is going up as well.
It's been high throughout the entire race so far, coming around past halfway already. Right now, Private Label Team Hype continuing to control the field. They're looking at lock up a team title, and there's a bad bump in the heart of the pack. Hudson getting a little bit darty with another near shove, it looked like, by Christian.
Yeah, I think that checkup there was caused by Trent Dinkle. And obviously the 3rd and 4th cars in line don't really see that. So, but great job again from all these drivers. You know, PRL does have some amazing drivers. So, keeping it moving forward, keeping this race exciting for us.
Vincent serving the black flag right now for the speeding penalty. He's the only driver to lose the main pack, essentially. A couple have lost the lead lap, Kibbe and Hilliard. Kibbe via spin and green flag, Hilliard via pit entry spin. On board with Maverick Davis. Trying to go yee-high in the heart of the pack. Let's take a quick listen. As you can tell with the gear ring, 5th gear, the name of the game. On top of racing in this series, he runs a lot of short track action, trying to get a good feel of those cars. He's had a good solid feel of this wheel here tonight, despite several 0-point races on the season.
That 3rd car in line down there, Vicente Sepulveda, I warned he might be strong earlier this race, and he's up there 6th place right now, making a good run at it.
Let's say he's been impressive so far. We touched upon him earlier on. He is in the battle for the top 10 in the point standings right now. An interesting thing that just got noted by our spotters here, touch bit of teammate games, because here's the thing. There's 4 private label cars, but you can only put 3 to a team in the Cup Series. Dinkle is amongst those lined up with O'Brien and Acosta. Then there is private label Team Hype Black. That is where Walter is registered. Walter, yet to get some lead laps here.
Walter, definitely the black sheep of the private label Team Hype team, running solo. Even though he has 3 sister teammates out there, it doesn't look like they're willing to work with him right now, as I'm sure it has something to do with all 3 of them fighting for a championship up in that top line.
I mean, you know where the points need to be. You know where the championship favorites lay. Here's one from Rodriguez. That point differential for that finale, if things stay the way they are, looking to be about 15, 16 points. At Las Vegas, that might be a potential deal where you have it nearly sealed coming in, based on the speed we've seen all those drivers run on the 1.5 miles this season and in general in their careers. But then again, all it takes is one mistake tonight and it could be a completely different story at this rate.
Yeah, and the only person Abner needs to concern about keeping out of the lead is Trent Dinkle. Abner needs to focus on leading every lap here on out, get the point for leading the most laps, and just try to take away as many points as possible from Trent Dinkle so he can close that gap and have a last race battle at Vegas for the championship.
Trent Dinkle, for reference, 56 laps led so far. Acosta now getting his own. James O'Brien's gotten a couple so far. So to touch upon Luis Rodriguez in the midst of all this, he's amongst those 19th in points coming in. He's still looking for a first top 10. This is his best shot yet. He's in the top grouping. He stays here. He stays top 10.
Yeah, solid run for him tonight. Really been impressed with most of these drivers. Like you said earlier, we only had the one incident with Chad Kibbe on the racetrack, and then of course Park Hilliard on pit road. But other than that, this has been a really clean race and a fun battle to watch.
They are starting to shuffle away from the bottom yet again. Back to the top side for the Chugga Chugga. And I think part of that, you might see some of that on the interval. These drivers are starting to note, oh, trouble, Christian in the wall.
Saw some smoke come off that right side when he made contact with the wall. Hopefully that car is not too damaged, but being that this is a draft track, I'm sure he'll be okay.
It's just a scrape, according to our spotters. If you end up crinkling the fenders, might be panic time if you lose the draft. But the reason I was about to say the choo-choo train effect here is they just gained 0.2 in a lap because of the choo-choo train up top here.
Yeah, and don't look too far ahead because you have Waldo Walden and Pat Harvey just up the road as the first back markers that they're going to come across here shortly.
So we've already seen the approach of lap cars top side. That was Hudson on the apron a little bit darty. That being said here, if you can get the bottom to work here in the midst of the traffic, you might be able to get some free real estate. If the traffic is in one of these lanes, that free real estate becomes expensive real estate, and you end up having a real estate bubble that explodes within about 1 to 2 moments. Into the wall goes another car to pop their bubble.
Yeah, Vicente and into the wall again. He's probably going to lose the tail end of the draft here with that issue, but he keeps it going forward. So good job to catch the rear end on that one.
Coming up towards the final 60 laps. Rodriguez now able to shuffle to the top 5 in the midst of this. I will say the more they make mistakes like that, the more it gives some hope to that second pack. Jeff Chandler, by the way, has now taken firm hold of the third pack as well. That's why you see a 10-second difference on the pylon there. He's amongst those that are trying to catch up to this group. Better place. Currently amongst those in the choo-choo train effect. Looking to see if he can find a way to float ahead like a ghost. But back to the discussion here.
And Vicente has officially lost the draft, Justin. He's about 10 miles an hour slower than these guys, so he's going to get swallowed up by that second pack.
That was one thing I was supposed to say. And here's the thing we're hearing from our spotter. He might have a gearing issue, Mark. Remember, this car has 5 forward gears. Apparently, Vicente's in the 4th gear and is stuck in it.
Well, with these restrictor plate races like this, sometimes fourth gear, if you're solo, is the faster way to run. Fifth gear is more so your draft gear. So when you're in the draft, you have the higher range of RPMs.
That's a lot more fuel burn you have to think about for the 248. I've heard the same thing at Daytona. If you play it wrong, though, it could still lose you to the draft.
It can indeed, and it doesn't take much when you're going 200 miles an hour.
Now, one thing I'm noticing is a lot of drivers, and some of those watching along who are drivers, seem to be trying to take note of what Jeff Chandler is trying to do. Doyle Lawrence, who's a series veteran in PRL competition, and also has worked with a few Coke drivers in terms of paint scheme designs, one of those who's got communication with Chandlers in the past. Apparently, the fuel strategy seems to be a priority in the 31 camp from the understanding here. I don't know if he's going to be able to stretch something out here, but Chandler might be the one you have to put a star next to try and do something.
Yeah, I'm showing him on the shortest stint. He was the last one to pit, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Justin?
Correct.
And he did have a 15.4 second stop, which is actually a second longer than everybody else. So if he's having fuel issues, I'm not sure what went wrong there.
What we're talking about with the fourth gear, by the way, with Sepala. He's not in the red for RPM, so why not let it fly in the gears until the pack swallows you up? He's about a second away from that range.
Yeah, and that's what he's hoping for. His best goal is to stay on the bottom, like I mentioned earlier, with someone else, and make them go around you, and you'll be easier to stay in the draft that way. As that pack is getting to him as we speak.
Right now, as these cars settle out, 35 laps in the fuel run for most of these leaders here. Cooperation continuing to be the main thing. And as they continue to sort things out, that traffic is almost here, Mark. Now, Waldo Walden, Pat Harvey are the next in line to be lapped. Remember, Harvey had a rough sequence. Waldo Walden lost the draft after pit stops. And looks like, for the most part, the field is already making themselves predictable, staying topside to their blow side.
Yeah, it looks like Abner likes running that middle lane, so he's just going to try to force everyone behind him to run that as well. And Pat Harvey up ahead, him and Waldo have been showing that they're willing to stay on that bottom lane for the most part. So everyone has a pretty good idea of where they want to be right now. And Justin, for further good news, I will say that Vicente was able to switch to fifth gear and managed to stay onto that pack he just got passed by.
Coming up towards the final 51 laps this upcoming time by. And this should be about the window. We're already in the window to make it on gas, by the way. It leads to a question here. Do you take a short fuel and in turn of having the play of, okay, less pit stop, but we're going to have to save a little bit on the gas, but we do have the fresher to right sides at least, or do you just go, okay, we're just going to run it dry again?
Well, I'm watching the lead group here, Justin, and it looks like they're doing some fuel saving right now because I'm seeing these checkups and they're staying pretty consistent with everyone having to check up with them. So I'm pretty sure Abner is slowing everybody up trying to save fuel.
Under 50 laps to go. For those tuning in, the top 8 still in the main draft. Acosta, O'Brien, Dinko, Walter, Rodriguez, Davis, Hudson, and Christian. They've stopped gaining on the lap cars for the most part here. And they are in the window for pit stops. Remember, these drivers went about 55, 60 laps previously. They're 40 laps into the window. The next group in the cars went further than that. They weren't able to close up any ground, though, since then. That's Jose Acosta, Bruno Mello, Jose Medina, better plays. Sevelda amongst those in that group. Tommy Brandon, Brian Dixon, Jeff Chandler are trying to save fuel heavily here and hoping for a miracle in the third pack, nearly a lap down. The track temperature, by the way, has started to cool off a little bit. You can tell with the sun, it is a little bit less bright, so to speak. 3 p.m. is the understanding. So what happens when it's 3 p.m.? Sun gets a little bit more oranger in terms of the brights on the surface.
Indeed, that sun starts to get lower in the sky. Track starts to cool off. Grip comes up. Temperatures go down. And yeah, right here, Justin, just some big time fuel saving. I'm a little bit surprised that at the speed they're running, Abner didn't just try to slow him up right behind Waldo instead and then just use his draft.
There's lap traffic right there, already following a lap down Harvey and Walden. And already you have to be starting to consider here. Is there going to be somebody who says it's time to put the hand out the window here? It looks like drivers are starting to say, okay, it's time to put the cars towards the bottom, get those web gloves out. They're legal in iRacing, they aren't legal in real world race cars. And try and get those ready for pit calls.
Yeah, it looks like we're about 44 laps on this current cycle right now with the leaders of all the private label team hype guys. So I'm curious if they're going to stretch it out to 60 laps like they did before and then try and just do a splash and go with fuel for the end of the race. But again, Justin, I'm not the strategy guy, so well, what do you have to say about that?
The two-tire call looks to be on the call if they're not already in the pit lane or not following the strat from the 50-50-50. Now the 50-50-50 looks to roll past that to maybe 50-60 or 60-60 and these are strategies, Mark, that usually...
There's the call, Justin. Abner is pitting this time by.
Pit call is over the radio as you just noted. Pit stop time for the main pack. Will they go for the two tires? They only need about 15 gallons or so, maybe from this point. And not as great of an entry from the 5. Everybody else slips and slides in.
Abner was barely able to get it down to speed before getting a black flag, so he's good to go. And that looks to be about 46 laps on this stint for them, Justin.
So the main thing's going to be keeping an eye on how the pit stop times play out. Time is of the essence, so to speak. So now, this groupie quickly trying to sort out the game time. 10-second pit stops. There it is right there, Mark.
Right side tires for all private label team hype cars. Right side tires was the call.
And this is where it's important to mention in open setups, the main talking point is the left side tires don't wear a lot at the 1.5 miles. That's why two tires are so common there, even in terms of loose it up. If your tires are in the 90s, that's nothing for left side tires. Super Speedway side, it was a question mark for Atlanta because usually this track, even with new pavement, is a cheese grater.
Yeah, it definitely has the potential to not exactly wear the tires, but heat the tires up to where they get super slick.
Coming up to 40 laps to go. And they were able to maintain the lead lap. That's how strong the pit stop is, or really nearly the lead lap. I should rather say that's the pack of a Jose Acosta and company.
Yeah, private label team hype. They've got their pit stops down to a science now. They that's twice in a row they've come out all nose to tail and managed to stay grouped together.
Now here's the startling part for Jose Acosta and company. The two cars of Hudson and Christian are faster than the 4 or 5 in that pack. Time to panic. Well, I should say there are 5 cars in this grouping, but it's still time to panic if you're losing the ground to the rest of the lead lappers stretching the fuel here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say exactly panic. There is still a decent amount of time left with, what, 38 laps to go here. But it's definitely getting down to crunch time, that's for sure, Justin. And you got these guys are in their cockpits and they're crunching numbers and trying to figure out what they need to do to win this race.
I can't tell if Hudson is thinking or knows that he needs more speed here. You can see he's trying to talk with somebody, get the strategy dialed in, get it right. We're 19 minutes out from the finish at the rate we're going. These drivers need to pit within the next 5 to 10 laps.
Then again, they could also hope for a caution. That is always a possibility. Maybe someone gets it wrong on pit entry. So, who knows? We'll have to wait and see, Justin.
I feel like you're trying
killing me.
Are you trying to jinx it?
Maybe a smidgen.
Commentator's curse exists, and it's undefeated for a reason.
Oh, I'm well aware. I'm well aware. It's gotten me in the rear before a couple times.
It's worth noting it for those that... Let's try to stretch it around here. It could be very borderline for drivers like Chandler, Dixon, Brandon on time in terms of where they are on the racetrack. This second pack has just started to only now equalize. That's how big the differential's been. Hearing calling pits, and somebody missed the call. That is Bruno Mello who missed the call to the back bumper. He went. 34's around as well. Fender plays with a spin on track.
There it is, Justin. Yellow flag.
And the commentator's curse remains undefeated. Caution flag is out. It's the 34 who brings it out. And more than half the field was a lap down.
You're welcome, Justin.
I don't think Private Label Team Hyde's going to appreciate it, but Chris Hudson and Luke Christian, Tommy Brandon, Brian Dixon, Jeff Chandler, all do. They're the only 5 not to pit.
Well, this is the type of situation champions are born from, so Private Label Team Hype should be good.
So, now let's see what happened. Remember, there's already 1 missed pit call on the track. And that's clumsy.
Definitely had a helping hand there. I didn't quite tell who that was behind him.
Vicente. And as the pit stops now happen for the leaders, one of the main points brought from the spotter side is you have to know where you want to go on the entry, high or low. It's not like Daytona where it's a vast space. But here, you don't have space to dive in. So now it's wave around time for everybody else. Did some of the drivers just pit in a closed entry, or am I misunderstanding this?
If they did, I didn't see it.
Part of me thought I heard something different. But regardless, Hudson and Christian are in a prime position here on the freshest tires. And they're obviously good to go on fuel.
Yeah, this is really going to make things exciting. Going to have a bunch of wave rounds here. So, going to have a long line of cars, single file for this restart. But, yeah, Hudson and Christian, they are going to be your pace setters moving forward.
So now how does this go? Because you have We've seen Hudson be comfortable up front. Christian's been very defensive. Brandon Chandler, Dixon and company, first time up front. Jose Acosta and Jose Medina, I think, might have kept the lead lap with Pat Harvey, despite taking a peek to the pit lane for a moment. But everybody else has to take the wave here. That being said, it's for the win. You're talking about 30 to go when we go back going just about here. How do you play this?
You play this like a Saturday night sprint race at your local racetrack. You give it all you got, and you don't let a... if you're Chris and you're Lou, you're holding up those lines as best you can, blocking, trying to stay in the lead, doing whatever you can to win this race.
Are we talking Bowman Gray style Saturday night racing, or are we talking Saturday night for the test drive?
Well, Justin, cautions do breed cautions, so
Bowman Gray.
Bowman Gray it is.
And we're about to have a whole crowd erupt. I'm joking. They actually did hold a race virtually about a month ago for their whole track. At Hickory of all tracks instead. You can guess there was an intent wreck for the win in that race. In this race, 31 to go. Hudson, Christian on the front row. Brandon Chandler, row 2. Dixon, Jose Acosta, row 3. The field flipped over. More than a third of the field wave around. We're back underway.
Major checkup on that bottom lane. Abner had to go to the high side to avoid it. Brings all his teammates with him.
And now the defense is on. Chris Hudson in the 43. He's been around for a few years in this series. Can he play the Pied Piper? Private label team hype already trying to link up at the bottom and the top. Erie, Kibbe, and Hilliard enter closed pits, by the way. They were staying out for a wave around, took the wave, came to the pit road, and then came back out.
Diving to the inside there, Justin. Didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry about that, buddy.
Here we go. Jose Acosta sees his chance to maybe lead for the first time. And he's got a good jump. That's from one of the blue machines, a Brian Dixon. Right now, those private label team hype machines trying to get gathered and rolled up. Acosta, Dinkle, O'Brien, Walter in formation, all on the top line, boxed in behind some of the lap cars. And they've got to find a way to go and go fast. There's nowhere to go yet.
Yeah, just a bottleneck right now. No openings to take. Acosta being aggressive with his pushes, trying to get to the front row.
Under 30 to go. Keep in mind, Chris Hudson, a one-time winner, hasn't had a win in a while. The last time Hudson went to victory lane in this series, 2022. Oh, a bit of a shuffle down there. Jose Medina trying to push Tommy Brandon. One car up on the wall. That's Kibbe, a lap car. He's able to get out of the way, avoids contact from everybody else. Oh, wow. Tommy Brandon looks to try and see if he can get himself a first W in this series.
The first private label team hype car in 5th place. That's Abner Acosta. Got his teammate Trent and James both behind him directly. This is shaping up to be a good finish here, Justin.
And for Tommy Brandon, back in 2020, he started up the school of sim racing. In turn, established partnerships early on with several organizations. Elbows Up, for example, had a partnership with them on the dirt side for a couple of years. In turn, also went to league management with series like NARC. Now, with PRL competition, looks to try and get a W as a driver. And looks to see if he can lead his way up front. He's side by side for 4th. Medina's trying to push Acosta, Jose Acosta should say, as hard as possible to get that 11 going.
He's giving him some strong pushes. They just can't get the momentum.
Up front, keep in mind, Hudson still continuing to play up at the top line. He's going to the middle, in the middle of the corners though. Luke Christian hasn't left his bumper. Jeff Chandler, amongst those, able to also clear by the side-by-side. And what a race for Chandler it's been. He was in the 20s and the teens most of the race. Trying to stretch from fuel strategy, and all of a sudden, bam, you're in the top 3. A bit of 3 wide back there. Some of the lap cars getting a little bit dicey. Pat Harvey also shuffles topside back there. And there's a look at the 3 wide. It's go time. Trent Dinkel shuffles out lap cars. Wada Walden to the wall.
A little door banging between Baldwin and Trent going through turn 4 there. Good job for both of them to keep it pointed forward.
Here's a look at Dinkel, trying to stay laser focused.
And
right now
Waldo
he's on the top.
dropping to the back on that 3rd lane.
He is on the lead lap, keep in mind. Walden trying to back away after getting shuffled. The top 5 already single filed out. He has Acosta in front, a championship rival. Brandon's been shuffled topside as well. Coming up to 20 to go, 2 times from now.
Intensity starting to ramp up here, Justin. You can tell it's go time for these drivers. They are throwing caution to the wind, and they are making it happen right now.
Bowie Esports machine still trying to push hard. That's Dixon, who's been trying to shove Jose Acosta. It's not going anywhere. Tommy Brandon just said, you know what? Top line. James O'Brien says, you know what? Bottom line, I'm going to pass everybody on my own.
James had a huge run there. He's going to get an additional bump here from Jose. And he was able to pass two or three cars there, I believe, Justin. That was a heck of a run.
How about that, to be able to shuffle in front of your teammates? Why don't you? And now those private label team hype machines are in the popcorn seat. Just about all of them already cleared up. All that's wow. Brandon Walter's been boxed into the back. The championship favorites, though, now all within the top 6 or 7. Christian has not left Chris Hudson's bumper, though, this entire time.
Yeah, Christian has been very willing to work with Hudson right now. I'm pretty sure that's going to fly out the window with 2 to go.
And that's the key thing. When do you make the move? 1 to go, 2 to go, 3 to go? It's a shorter distance. It's not as simple as last lap like Daytona.
Well, I guess it's right now. Abner goes low.
Oh. And he's got some help. It's his family member, Jose Acosta, going for the bump. Under 20 laps to go. Jose now giving the shoves as hard as he can to Abner. Oh, and Trent Dinkel nearly turned James O'Brien on the top line.
Oh, that's really got that checkup going on that top line. Almost a spin there from Brandon Walter.
Tires are starting to reach the limit, keep in mind. Drivers like Brandon Walter and a couple others are starting it. Scoring
Wreck in the back.
There they go. Caution flag is out. And Walter in the heart of it.
Chris Vincent turned around on exit of turn 4 there.
Vincent was a couple laps down. The 99 of Walter dragging. And we're under yellow with under 20 laps to go.
Well, Justin, you got 20 laps. Do you pit? Do you get fresh tires?
That's a tough question here at Atlanta, isn't it? I
It is
think
indeed.
we're about to find that answer pretty quickly. But here's a look at the replay. Cars were getting squirrely.
That's hard to tell if Vincent came up or if Walter came down.
We've had a couple come down. Luis Rodriguez did come in. He was at the back anyway, so why not? Everybody else staying up for now.
You can see on the front bumper of Brandon Walters' number 99 machine, big time damage. I'm wondering if he'll be able to stick with the draft with that kind of aerodynamic wrinkle there.
And you see with the slow-mo, everything looked fine until about here. This is where some cars have been having a little bit of moments. Some trying to get towards the bottom, some trying to get a little lower in the middle line. Space is there. Space is there. Space is there.
Looks like Brandon trying to go for a 3-wide move there. Moves down a little bit.
I didn't even think he went for a 3-wide move. It was more so like about here is where Vincent goes up. He goes up. He goes up. He goes up. Walter comes down, but Vincent came up a whole lane in the first place, and welcome to the Fender Show.
And puts it head on into the wall hard.
And the field's already hurrying back around here for the 1-to-go signal. Hudson and Christian on the front row. Chandler, and then it's Abner Acosta alongside Brian Dixon, Jose Acosta, Jose Medina, James O'Brien, top 8. Pat Harvey able to get up there along with Trent Tinkle in your top 10. And here's a look once again at some of the cameras. This is Hudson. He still looks the same as earlier, but now, with it being points paying time, he's looking for his first win in a couple years.
And Justin, my question was answered. Nobody pit that I saw. Everybody stayed out.
Track position's that critical.
Well, we have seen that once you're up front, it can be difficult to make passes.
Coming up to 14 to go. Hudson's been in control of the lead since the time of the caution flag. Seen him take said lead. Luke Christian's been working with him since. Do they stay linked up? They are teammates for Pioneer Racing. Does the teamwork make the dream work? Or does someone like Chandler, one of the drivers on their own in this series, break it up? Or is it private label team hype champagne time again? 14 to go. Pace car off. And there's the bump for Chandler. The signal off and away.
The 03 does not get a good start there.
Already Abner Acosta boxed in. James O'Brien's going forward himself with the backdrop. Top 3 or 4 single file.
Brandon Walter warning all the drivers that he is slow with that damage, so he's moving back.
Already though, the box out seems to be shuffling itself. James O'Brien has found Trent Tinkle for the time being. You know who's shuffled in between them a little bit as well, though? Tinkle gets shuffled back as well by Bruno Melton with the backdrop. The top 2 now look to try and tandem away.
Yeah, Christian still showing favoritism for Hudson right now. Still giving him the big pushes.
Up front, coming up to 12 to go. And right now, it's pretty clear the Acostas are going to stay together to the end of the way they're shaping up. James O'Brien has found his buddy for now in one of the Bowie Esports cars. Dinkle doesn't have that same help right now with him being several car lengths back.
Black flag for Brandon Fetterplace. He has to come down and serve a black flag.
And here we go. Private label team hype shuffles it out. Jose Acosta gets ditched. Abner goes. This time with Trent Tinkle on the charge. Now Tinkle shuffles it 3 wide. 3 wide for the battle for 4.
Trent just left his teammate high and dry there as he makes contact with Jose.
Now don't wreck your teammates, why don't you? James O'Brien able to get off high. 10 laps to go on the stripe. Everything looking peachy for Hudson up front. Jose Acosta now trying to stay on the top side. James O'Brien has all his teammates trying to help him. And now he gets ditched for a moment by Abner Acosta.
Trent and Abner being super aggressive right now, trying to get to the front.
Need to get closed up here. You know who's moving? Pat Harvey's in the top 5 all of a sudden. They pass by the slow car of Walter. Oh, and more cars nearly smacked the wall with a checkup.
Oh no, and Abner just lost 3 spots right there by going up to that top lane with that huge checkup.
Needs to be able to gather it up and fast. Christian still trying to push as hard as he can, trying to find his way to be able to get Hudson to victory lane again. Coming out, 8 to go. Only 4 minutes to work with. So as Hudson continues to work here, that bottom line has been a tricky spot all night. Somebody needs to get it to work. How do you get it to work now? Because that bottom line's 5 car lanes back. You're not winning from 5 car lanes back.
No, the only chance they have right now is put bumper to bumper, and you have to risk it into corners. That's the way you're going to make up time.
Looking to try and risk it a little bit. Dinkle's finally hooked back up with O'Brien on the inside groove. Top 4 just about clearing themselves. Pat Harvey in that 5th spot still alongside that bottom line. Tommy Brandon's also trying to get some moves back again. 6 laps to go at the stripe. And
Trent
here we
move
go.
Up to that high line, forces his way in front of Tommy there.
Nearly left it open for 3 wide again. And that in turn shuffles out James O'Brien yet again.
Teammates, I think not anymore.
Championship battle for the driver's title coming into play here. Remember, they race against each other. Connor Harrington in our series, good measure for that. 5 laps to go.
If Abner's going to get up there and try and gain any points on Trent, it's got to be now. He's got to start making moves. But he's trapped up there by James, his other private label teammate. But time is winding down for Abner to be able to make any kind of points gain.
And that top 8, 9, make it 10, all in a line. Who's going to be the first one to jump out? Somebody. Anybody's going to have to jump to get this to work. Like one driver, Bruno Mello, trying to get down to the bottom side. No help down there at the bottom, though.
It's almost as if they're scared to go to the bottom lane. They're scared it's not going to move forward.
Now down to 3 to go. That lap you expected to move next time around here. We're inside green-white checker territory.
Trent moving down in front of Bruno.
That's still back around the 5th position, making for the battle for 4. Now the block's coming out for the bottom. Hudson and Christian trying to play the lines. 2 laps to go. And here comes the private label car, Trent Dinkle. He's now alongside for 3rd. A big run for Trent Dinkle. Jeff Chandler thought about going down, can't get down there. Coming to the white flag this time. Dinkle is coming, he's alongside for 3rd.
1 lap to go. Does Christian stay behind Hudson, or does he duck out off of turn 4 for the win?
Pioneer Racing 1 and 2. Here comes Jose Acosta. He tries to rip them apart. Side by side for the race lead. Jose Acosta on the inside. Hudson outside. Now a block to the inside. A shuffle. 3 wide. Contact. They wreck. Another crash out of turn 3 and 4. And for the second PRL race in a row at stock cars, a crash in the final lap. For the first time in 2 years, Chris Hudson to victory lane.
What a race, Justin. What a race.
And all you can do is laugh. Pioneer Racing's Chris Hudson, his first win since 2022. He's gone through a different few manufacturers since then, and now he brings the Toyota right off to victory lane. The red, black, and white machine with the dub.
Happy for Hudson. Happy to see him get a win. It's been a long time coming. He's always been super competitive. But I tell you who isn't laughing, Justin? Abner Acosta. He got caught up in that wreck, unfortunately.
What a finish. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results. Chris Hudson getting the victory by about 2/10. Bruno Mello, Trent Dinkle, James O'Brien, Brian Dixon, the top 5. Maverick Davis, Tommy Brandon, Jose Medina, Sente Velda, along with Luis Rodriguez, your top 10 tonight. Jeff Chandler got shuffled to 11th with the crash. Pat Harvey, Abner Acosta involved. Luke Christian involved. Jose Acosta 15th. One lap down, Wodo. Chad Kibbe 16th. And look at your rest of the results. You see several 2 laps down or more. What a finish though up front. It happened in Grand National. It happens here. A crash on the final lap. This time in a different corner. Your thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, just everyone going for every piece of real estate they can. Unfortunately, ends in a big wreck on the last lap in turn 3. And, you really got to feel for those guys caught up in that wreck because it was exciting to watch, and I was hoping they could keep it clean all the way to the checkered.
Waiting for drivers to be able to make their way over to virtual victory lane into the virtual broadcast booth. One of the drivers standing on by already, Trent Dinkle, a top 3 run. Trent, you went for it. A top 3 still. Talk us through the final laps.
Yeah, I mean, the final laps were definitely a little hectic. I mean, I knew the whole race that the top line was going to be where he needed to be, and obviously it's kind of hard to get around the top line. So I just was trying to time it at the right spot to get low, and then Jose got in front of me, and I cleared low, I feel like, and then he tried to come down, and we kind of got a little locked together, and I shoved him out of the way, but I don't know, I might have hosed myself a little bit there because I'm so used to racing officials, I went below the line. So we'll see if my 3rd place holds. I might get DQ'd out of that race, but if it did, it is what it is, I suppose.
So with that being said here, there's pressure when it came to the championship. Obviously, you guys were racing each other hard. 3 teammates, 1 championship for the season. That being said, what is that thought process knowing you have 3 competitors, including yourself, all who work together, but only one of you can be the best of the season?
Yeah, I mean, these play tracks, you kind of have to work together because everybody's working together. You can't really do it on your own. I mean, I love Abner to death, but he is terrible at making decisions on plate tracks, and that's why I ditched him, when we got closer to the end. I mean, I think you just have to, feel the run coming, and you just have to either force your way to where you want to go, or you just have to make the move. And sometimes he doesn't do that, I guess. I don't know. So that's why I left him, and then I was hanging with James, but I realized we weren't going anywhere on the bottom, so then I found a hole on the top and went up there, and yeah, Atlanta's hectic. I mean, we did absolutely nothing until somebody somehow wrecked on one of the easiest pit roads to get onto, and then unfortunately it was chaos to the end.
Well, that being said, I don't know if you meant this or not, but there's a very strong possibility you ditching Abner Acosta and then Acosta, losing a lot of time because the crash in the final lap may or may not have nearly mathematically clinched yourself a championship, in that you came in about 17 points the difference. That grows to nearly 30 possibly here. We'll still have to look at the official result. How does that make you feel in terms of the finale for Las Vegas with the title?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's been a while since me and Abner have raced, like a regular cookie cutter, because obviously he's better than me on cookie cutters. But we're not on the same stuff anymore. I'm on Team Conti, and I don't know what the hell he runs, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. I guess. I mean, Abner's, I guess, probably the main guy I'm always fighting, and Abner's unfortunately the reason why I race so much, because I want to beat him all the time. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun regardless. Whatever happens. I'd like to win 4 championships in a row, though. That would be cool.
We'll see if that will happen next week. Anyone want to give a shout out to here?
Yeah, everybody from Team Hype. I mean, we did a super good job working together tonight with, Abner, James, and Brandon. Big help to Richard, because he not only spotting for me, but he got all 4 of us set up for fuel on that last stop that I'm pretty sure if that race went green, we would have been gone. But then big thanks to, Team Conti. They had been building some nutty setups, and I mean, what I've done in here the last couple weeks, I think kind of shows it. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, Trent.
Yeah. See ya.
That's Trent Dinko coming away with the top 3 tonight. The win, though, he's here. For the first time in a couple of years, it's Chris Hudson to victory lane. Chris, welcome back to PRL Victory Lane. It's been a while.
It certainly has been a while, yeah. This league has gotten nothing but tougher since the last time I won, so I'm super thrilled to be here.
What was the reaction for you and your teammate Luke Christian when you were basically the only cars in the main pack yet to pit when the caution started flying?
Yeah, that was, we were actually just about to pit. We were all getting ready to get in line and get down and pit. And as soon as we started moving down to the low line, the yellow came out. So we weren't sure exactly how that was going to play out for us. I mean, we still had to go in and get tires and everything. So, but, we had the track position, and, Lou and I were working so well together all night. We knew we had a chance at that point.
So in turn, how was that discussion like, knowing the moves were coming to the final corners? Yeah, Dinko sending it 3-1 in the backdrop. What was going to the mind for that final restart, and in turn, those final sequences with a lot of hungry cars making it 3 wide behind you?
Yeah. So Lou was really communicating to me what was going on behind him, telling me kind of where I should place the car to make sure that we had the best defense, there. So, and we really felt like the top line, if we could protect the top, we'd be able to be okay. So, so he was kind of telling me, enter late, make sure that you hit the middle here and that kind of thing. And it was crazy. It was a crazy strategy, but, it all worked out. And, I hated to see him get turned there at the end. I owe this victory to him for sure. He was pushing me along there pretty good, but yeah, it was intense there at the end.
So with that being said here, still one more race to go this season. How do you feel about the 1.5 miles? It's the first time in a little while we've gone to a normal one.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, I feel like we've done well there. I mean, like I said, this league has gotten just tougher and tougher every season. So, I think we're up for a big challenge once we get to the 1.5 miles. But, they're fun tracks. I feel like that's kind of the bread and butter of NASCAR. And, I always enjoy racing there.
Any shout-outs?
Yeah, big shout out obviously to Lou. So hated to see him get wrecked there, but the SGE team with Pat and Chad and Park and Rob, all those guys. It's always a blast racing every week. That's what makes it fun, is racing with your friends, and so that's always good. And just wanted to shout out to you guys. The broadcast is always amazing. Always like going back and watching that. And shout out to PRL. This league has been so much fun. Always competitive, always a blast, and when you can get a win here, it is very exciting. So to me, I'm very excited and just happy to pull one off here.
Well, once again, congratulations! Your first win since 2022 tonight. Congrats.
Thanks.
Chris Hudson getting the W here this evening. His first win in a while. I'd like to thank him as well as Trent Dink for taking time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on RaceSpot. Well, Mark, one more race to go. Las Vegas. Your thoughts on tonight and in turn the lead up to the finale.
Yeah, Justin, tonight's race was pretty phenomenal. Only the two main wrecks, really, and on that last lap. Super excited to see Chris Hudson pull off the win tonight, and I'm glad I was here for it, calling him to the finish with you. And watching him do those donuts on the front stretch there after the race really made me wish he had that Krispy Kreme paint scheme back on the car. But rolling into next week at Vegas, I don't know that Abner is going to be able to pull off a big enough points gain on Trent after this incident tonight. I think Trent pretty much has it sealed, barring any incidents for him next week. But who knows? Might roll the dice and see some chaos.
What is the perfect place to do it after all? Or maybe that spear will smile at everybody in terms of bad luck. But that being said, it's time to say goodbye. For my co-announcer, once again, and Mark Kalen, for spotter Nick Hunter, for producer Mike Yao, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the PRL and its Cup Series from iRacing's virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Congrats to Chris Hudson, your winner for Pioneer Racing.